The Exorcist Believer is currently available on Peacock. It's not that far after its theatrical release, but it's also a horror film, so it's after October. Shelf life is kind of weird. It's December. I don't think people are really looking for Exorcist movies in December, so I'm not going to applaud Peacock too much on the back for the quick release. I know they were planning big things for this thing, which is why they didn't day and date it. But based on the reaction from everybody, they probably should have day and dated this. I mean, Five Nights at Freddy's did better, and it was day and dated, and doesn't have the pedigree or the cast or anything behind it like this one does. This one stars Leslie Odom Jr. And it's also got Ann Dowd. Can we please give this woman an Academy Award for something? Just anything. I literally don't care. I don't care when she gets nominated. By the time I will admit, by the time Ann Dowd finally gets nominated for an Oscar, I don't even care what it'll be for. It can be for anything, and I'll just be happy for it. That doesn't even. I'll just be like, well, we owed it to her. She's been in so many performances already. Compliance, Mass, things that she should have been nominated for, and just hasn't been. So, Norbert Leo Butz and Jennifer Nettles is in this. So, and two young girls that I have not memorized their names, but they are surprisingly pretty solid in this film. So, it's a David Gordon Green film. I don't know what to tell you. You have. His name means different things to different people right now. After that Halloween trilogy, I liked the first Halloween. I did not like the next two, Halloween Ends and Halloween Kills. I did not like the next two. But that first one is fire. And so you would think that the first one, The Exorcist Believer, would be fire, right? Well, let's talk about it. It does have audio description, so maybe that helped. Well, I first of all, I want to say to the audio description narrators, I don't think I've fully appreciated, or maybe it's just this narrator, but the amount of detail that went into just describing the Blumhouse logo was like on point. Like, I don't think I've ever had the Blumhouse logo described to me as in full detail as I feel like I was in my own movie during just the Blumhouse logo. It was so well described. I know that thing plays forever, but especially when it is a full-on Blumhouse and not a Blumhouse tilt. But yeah, this was great. So thank you. I know it's a little thing, but it actually made a world of difference. So I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this. I love Leslie Odom Jr., and I'm so glad that he has a starring role here. He absolutely is the star of this film, the lead. He plays a father who we see in the middle of a flashback that he and his wife are in Haiti, and his wife is pregnant, and there's an incident, and, an earthquake happens, and his wife, unfortunately, is caught up in it, and he has to make a choice, save the mother, save the baby, can't save both. And we cut forward to the future, and it's just him and a daughter. And they have sort of this cute connection together. And they seem to have really figured out the single father, only child dynamic. And he just takes life for granted, and I actually have no idea what this dude does for a living, but I don't think the film ever actually had the time to really explore it. I'm sure he has a job, but I don't know what it is. He drops her off at school one day, and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna hang out with my friend," and he's like, all right," but you can tell he's kind of like protective. And it's like weird that he's that level of protective this early in the film, and it's like, does she never hang out with her friends ever? Have you never met this girl? Like, does does she not have friends? It's a very weird interaction that we have. Like, he's hesitant to like let her hang out with a friend, but she's not like 5, you know. She's, I don't know. I, I think they say they're 8. I think they say they're grade leveler. It's just, I think it's 6th or 7th grade, I think, at this point. And so she hangs out with this friend Charlotte, who later on we meet her parents, who will be played by Norbert Leo Butz and Jennifer Nettles. And anyway, the two girls, they go and they hang out in the woods, and then they don't come back for 3 days. And there's a search for them, and it gets kind of weird, and then they just kind of show up, and the girls don't remember anything about where they were. They didn't even know 3 days had passed. And then even weirder stuff happens, and it's an Exorcist movie. It's not even the first Exorcist movie of the year. Like, this isn't even... We have too many Exorcist movies. And then you're left to decide, was this worth making another Exorcist film? And the funny thing that happened for me on Peacock was I accidentally clicked on the Exorcist beginning or whatever, the one from like 20 years ago. I think Paul Bettany was in it. And when it didn't have audio description, I was like, wait, did I click on the wrong one? I was like, oh, that's right, this one's called Believer. Just, the subtitle really doesn't matter. There's not really a thing. They're not like constantly shouting "believe" at you or anything. The whole movie, like, believe, you need to believe. Why aren't you a believer? Like, it's not like that the whole movie. That would be really weird. But there's some interesting things here that I actually liked. I think that David Gordon Green is playing with. I think he just didn't know what to do with Michael Myers sequels. Like, he knew what he wanted to do with the first Halloween, and then like the second two just kind of sucked after that. He just, I don't know. Like, he was like, I got a trilogy in mind. Sort of like The Matrix, you know? Nobody actually ever thinks all 3 Matrix films are like of the exact same quality. I think we all can agree on that societally, that all 3 Matrix films are not the same. That's Halloween. Even if you like the other 2, you cannot possibly be a person who's like, yes, they are all of the same quality. Even if you like those films. So I feel like with The Exorcist, he had an idea, and he was like, this is what I want to do. And so there's some cool stuff that he's putting down. I don't hate this movie. It's got like a 4 point something on IMDb. Did not do well at the box office. Critics don't like it. And I walked into this film clear-minded and ready to either love or hate a David Gordon Green film, and I came out kind of like, that was not nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be, all things considered. It plays with the idea of allowing sort of anything to come in and help fight. Like, at that point, when you have 2 girls that you care about that are both possessed, there's like a community effort. Do you know? There's just like this thing of bringing everybody in. It doesn't really matter what your religion is. It's suggested heavily that Leslie Odom Jr.'s character is without religion, possibly because of his wife's death. And he's coming in, just clear-headed. And we do end up meeting Ann Dowd, who is somebody who was going to be a nun. She was a novitiate who turned away, and it's a very important plot point at a certain point in the film. It's what makes Ann Dowd a believer in this whole thing. I guess it's about the little moments that make you a believer in, are these kids possessed or not? Maybe that's where the title comes from. But she sort of starts out and sort of leads the charge, basically because she hasn't been nominated for an Oscar. So it's our fault, really. As a society, we have failed her. But Yeah, so she she sort of calls she does the thing where she calls the Vatican and tells a priest, and we get a priest that comes in, young guy, and he's trying to analyze the situation. And obviously the Catholic Church is like, I don't know, we've performed some exorcisms, people have died, we don't know if we want to jump in on this. So he's trying to figure out whether or not he wants to get in on it. Meanwhile, Charlotte's parents are in this, sort of like a weird faction of Christianity where they don't, I don't know what it is, they don't baptize people at birth. They baptize them later on when they have the choice to be baptized. Like, they have to choose it. I don't know what that is. I really just, I don't. I think it's interesting, but I don't know, everybody is so like original sin, baptize so they were waiting for their daughter to be baptized, and she hadn't chosen to be baptized yet, which I guess, I don't know, is a plot point. It's an interesting thing to bring up, they always make choices. I'm always interested when they make a choice like that. I'm like, it could have been anything. These could have been, devout, super incredibly devout Christians, and she could have been baptized. Maybe maybe we're having a different conversation about, does baptism work? But instead, David Gordon Green goes out of his way to let us know that while the family is deeply Christian, they have not baptized her because they are of this sect of Christianity that does not believe in baptizing somebody who does not want to be baptized. So, anyway, so yeah, they kind of bring everybody together. There's also, I don't know what to call her. Her character name is Beehive. So, I don't know what to do with that. Voodoo? Hoodoo? I don't know what we're trying to do with her character. She's very interesting. Actually, I didn't look at the character list, and I was like, is this Uzo Aduba? It's not. I was very disappointed. It was an actress I was not familiar with. So, yeah, it's something. She's representing something, but she's representing the idea that you could let in anything, because you do have, essentially Catholics are Christians because they believe in Jesus. And I know that's like a debate. We're getting now into deep religious territory, and I've crossed a line, but they are. That's the basic, to fall into Christianity is to believe. Did you believe Jesus was the Son of God? The answer to that question is yes. Congratulations, Christianity. Now we'll debate after that where you lie in the broader sect of things. So basically, I have two people, and I don't know what she believes. I have no idea what this woman believes, but she's like lighting candles, and she does some interesting stuff throughout the course of the film. There's a scene where where a friend of Leslie Odom's is like, they're in his house, and she's just in there and blowing and he's so calm about it. Like, he rushes in and he's like, who's in my house? And we're like, is it his daughter? Did she come home? Is this gonna be a weird scene? It's like, no, his friend/neighbor broke in with this weird lady that's performing her ritual. And Leslie Odom Jr. is just so chill. He's just like, oh, okay, this is what it is. All right. I thought it might be something weird. My bad. Please continue. Yeah, I'm not gonna say David Gordon Green makes all the right choices, but he makes interesting choices, and I appreciate that, because so many times with Exorcist films, we've seen them all before. And there were times in this film where I didn't know where they were going. I didn't know where they were zigging or zagging. And I thought that was interesting. I love the fact that they take a very straightforward approach to it, very realistic. These girls go to the hospital a lot. One of them is in like a psychiatric facility for a while, and while she's being possessed, because we don't immediately just call the Catholic Church. We do actually react to things as normal people would when something like this happens, and we don't immediately assume it's possession when somebody possibly has suffered trauma. They think they're maybe repressing memories because they don't remember 3 days of their life. So everything kind of makes sense. There are things here that I kind of make sense. The demonic possession stuff wasn't too scary. There is a moment where there's a shit gets real moment. I won't spoil it, but there is very much a shit gets real moment where you kind of feel like the stuff has been kind of like up until that point. You're like, I don't know, there's not really anything in here that's too weird or scary, or just kind of like pretty typical shit. And then something happens, and you're like, oh, well, I didn't see that one coming, so you got me on that one. Congratulations. The twist I kind of saw at the end. I did kind of feel bad, but I don't really know how this is planning to lay out as a trilogy. I've heard that he also wants to make a trilogy of Exorcist films, and I don't know how that plans. There is a really interesting ending to this. And yes, I haven't talked about the Ellen Burstyn because I wanted to do a review that was maybe like the right amount of percentage about The Exorcist to represent the film, like actually talk about it as a film, and then talk about Ellen Burstyn for about the same amount of time she's in the film. Ellen Burstyn's in this film, and we really have to do better by this woman. She's a legend, and she needs more actual roles and things like Pieces of a Woman, and less things like this, and less things like The Bye Bye Man, stuff like that. Please stop giving her shitty horror films because she was once in a horror movie. She's one of the better things in the film. I will admit that. However, she is like 90 something, so she's in the film for like a brief period in time. I was actually even sort of concerned about the level of stunt work that she has to do in the movie, but I'm sure it was shot in a way that she was protected and somebody else looking like her did her. Anyway, there's some stuff that happens with her that I was just like, oh, please protect her. She's a legend. Please protect her. Take care of her. And there is a nice little resolution cameo at the end that David Gordon Green gets, which probably sets up the second one that he wants to do, which could be interesting. I appreciate it. I don't know where he's going to go with that. I don't trust him with sequels to his own films, so I'm not that excited. I don't think the box office is there to warrant another Exorcist movie, but stranger things have happened. So if he can make it for cheap enough, who knows? If he can slash that budget, if he can make that thing for $5 million, Universal might just still let him do it. So they spent a lot to try to get this franchise up and running again, and I think they probably would go ahead with a sequel. Audio description wise, yeah, there's a lot of crazy shit that happens in this. There's lots of vomiting of bodily fluids, going blood, and carvings of things that have to be read to us. They carve into their own skin. They carve into walls. And we obviously wouldn't be able to read those as blind audiences without audio description. So that was nice. It does let us know when there's things like the demonic face, and when they're looking haggard and bruised, and the girls and the trauma they're sort of going through while being possessed. So it's a harrowing experience for them. Like I said, the shit gets real scene was described well. Yeah, there isn't. The odd thing is the gore here is there is sort of there's a moment where after the shit, I'm just gonna keep calling it the shit gets real moment. After the shit gets real moment, where we start sort of getting these visions of things from somewhere else. So there's some creature feature work happening that I thought were pretty well described. I conceptually understood what they were kind of flashes, so which made me appreciate it even more, that I even understood anything at all, that we took the amount of time, since things that were talked about were not really featured heavily prominently on screen. There's not like a giant monster that like is on screen for like the last 20 minutes of this film. We're trying to like chase it around the house or something. I'm like, what does this monster look like? Nothing like that. But there is some imagery where you're like, that's That's disgusting. Thank you for letting me know. I appreciate it. Um, so yeah, the film has great audio description. The one thing I would say, this is just a little criticism, and I realize like societally we did this to ourselves. We fucked this up. We're gonna have to do see this. There's a thing with movies, and I realize we don't like to use people's names until they have them, but I will say Leslie Odom Jr.'s character does have a name in the film. Um, and he is the lead, so we do get his name later. It's not really like a secret. He's not secretly related to somebody, where like the name reveal for him was like, oh my god. But he is referred to as the Slender Man, which is unintentionally hilarious, and I'm surprised nobody caught that. I'm surprised that no one in 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 quality control was like, you know what, maybe maybe calling him the Slender Man until we learn his name is not necessarily the way to go. Because I was giggling. As you can tell now, I was giggling. And I don't think I would be the only one. It's a weird, you know, to hear the Slender Man over and over again. You know, the Slender Man is looking at his... We've ruined that term. You can't use it anymore. I'm sorry. To all of my narrator friends out there, I'm sorry you can't use that term anymore. You're going to have to find a new word. You can't say the Slender Man anymore. It's gone. It's dead. It means something else now, and you can't put it in films. I don't care contractually if you're obligated to or not. Just don't do it. It. Whoever's telling you to describe him as the Slender Man, it doesn't. I cannot possibly be the only person who listened to the audio track and was giggling. I can't. I'm not even that big into Slender Man, and the repeated use of the Slender Man. I was like, this audio description is so good, but I can't. I literally can't with this Slender Man thing. I was like, the Slender Man and his wife. I was like, no wonder she's possessed. She's the daughter of the Slender Man. So, yes, we have to find something else, another way, to describe handsome, thin black men from the cast of Hamilton. Please, and thank you. It just wasn't that bad. It's not great, but I felt kind of the same way about The Pope's Exorcist. I feel like these are about the same film, where there are things in here that I like. It's got good acting in it. Leslie Odom Jr. is a fantastic actor, and he really does make most of this film work. And actually, Norbert Leo Butz and Jennifer Nettles both did a really good job. Ann Dowd's fantastic. Ellen Burstyn, even the actors and actresses that I don't know their names, they all did good work here. This is a really solid acting cast. I also appreciate the fact that David Gordon Green made some choices. I feel like I don't necessarily agree with all of them, but I like some choices were being made here. There are some things that sort of happen in every single Exorcist movie, and that's where I'm like, okay, so he's trying to do things his own way, as if he's never seen an Exorcist movie, but then he's doing this thing, which is in every Exorcist movie. So, is he paying homage? Is he doing his own thing? What is he doing here? I do one thing or do the other. Pick one. I kind of wish he had done it as if he had never seen an Exorcist film, and just because those were the stronger moments for me, the moments where I didn't necessarily know where we were going. And it was less predictable, and it was less feeling like every single possession film, because no one is ever going to top William Friedkin's original Exorcist. I think we've seen it. There have been some films that have come close, but no one actually ever says this is better than the original Exorcist. If you always notice, whether it's Exorcism of Emily Rose, which I know some people like, no matter how much high praise it gets, it falls just short of anybody saying this is the best Exorcist movie, because that title has been taken, it's owned, and the only way you're ever going to have a shot at doing it is by throwing out the rule book. And he doesn't completely do that here. But it was interesting. And it was a lot better than I thought it was after Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. So, or ends and then kills. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Both of those films are terrible. I hated both of them. So, I'm going to give The Exorcist Believer a B-. Shocker, right? I'm going positive on this. This is way higher than I gave either one of the Halloween movies. I'd rather watch this again than either of those Halloween movies. So, yeah, and I love Michael Myers movies, but he made me not want to ever see another Michael Myers movie again. So, congratulations. I think he's probably best if we just not let him make another Exorcist movie. Just leave it at this. I don't trust him with sequels. So, but this was fine. Yeah. It was okay. It ended up being okay. I surprised myself. So, anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. If you're not a subscriber, please click that subscribe button. And I'm trying to break 200 this year. That's my Christmas wish. You can follow me on Instagram at MacMovieGuy. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what has audio description, where you can watch it. And you can go to the ADNA.org and you can see who's narrating your favorite film and television series. That's it for me. I will review something else and see you guys on the other side.